When, in 2023, the shocking story of TikTok influencer Mahek Bukhari, aged 22, and her mother, 46-year-old Ansreen Bukhari, who, together with 5 others, killed 2 young men, hit the headlines, the whole country was gobsmacked. On the 1st of September 2023, mother and daughter were sentenced to life, Ansreen getting a minimum term of 26 years and 9 months, Mahek getting a minimum term of 31 years and 8 months. On the 24th of October 2025 though, 4 of those convicted, including Mahek herself, won a sentence reduction in the Court of Appeal. Before we learn their new sentences, let's remind ourselves of the story of Mahek Bukhari and her mother, Ansreen Bukhari, Ansreen herself being arguably the more significant of the 2 parties as far as the story of the deaths of 2 innocent young men are concerned. Now you are a great looking woman of 45 with a growing TikTok following and with a sexy young lover who's less than half your age. Well, I've already said that you're a very attractive lady, so... As well as being both hooked up and TikTok famous, you take your religion very seriously. And no, you don't want to be offed on account of your marital infidelity, a retributive act that none other than your religion apparently recommends for one such offence. You also don't want to risk losing your TikTok fame or the glamour and satisfaction that come with it, because those things have long since become central to your life and central to your happiness. Your young bit on the side then doesn't know it, but in attempting to blackmail you, no less, as revenge for your having just jilted him. And by the way, he's hoping to blackmail you with the nude photos and videos of you that he possesses. He has sealed his own disastrous fate. And yes, viewer, this means what you think it means. Now viewer, if I've got you hooked on the story so far, do subscribe, give the video a like, drop a comment when you're ready and donate. Hit the thanks button below, I'll appreciate you. Not being allowed by her parents to become an air hostess and being forced instead to get married around the age of 20 were the 2 culminating acts of the life of oppression and misery that the parents of Ansreen Bukhari had inflicted on their daughter from day one. Originating from Pakistan, she was never allowed while growing up to dress in a fashionable Western way, always having to dress rather in the manner typical for Pakistani women. However, fast forward over 2 decades, by which point Ansreen and her husband, having long since moved to the UK from California, USA, where their 2 children were born, have an adult son and daughter, we find that Ansreen's life is starting to change. Now, there's a reason why Ansreen's daughter, whose name is Mahek, and who attended a private school local to the family home in Stoke-on-Trent, dropped out of university where she'd been studying fashion, an interest that she no doubt inherited from one of her parents in particular. And it's a very important reason. She was making a packet on TikTok. As such, she chose to abandon her degree and develop her career as a content creator and influencer. Born in May 1999, Mahek had actually struggled initially to get attention on TikTok, but now she isn't the only one in her family to be exuding glamour and glitz to a captive audience from day to day and to be reaping the personal rewards of that. Yes, you've guessed it, for the first time in her life, her mother, Ansreen, whose appearances in her daughter's videos are what sent her daughter's content viral and is keeping it so, is being seen as a figure of femininity and beauty rather than just as wife and mother of 2 with nothing else to her. She and her daughter are also loved for the humour that they offer in their content and, of course, for their undeniably close and loving mother-daughter bond, which Mahek herself describes as elite. In 2019, Ansreen's daughter encourages her mother to download a video chat app called Azar. After creating her account and uploading photos to her profile, she receives a few invites from different men because obviously she was an attractive woman, in some people's eyes anyway. As time goes by, Ansreen starts to get more and more present on this app, and this is when she notices a message from a man called Saqib, Hussain, who insists on being friends with her. And before either of them knew it, they were shagging on a regular basis at Premier Inn hotels. By all accounts, Ansreen is somewhat startled when she sees that her lover isn't 27 as he had told her, but in fact 18, but she shags him anyway, repeatedly. Come on, life has never been this good for the 42-year-old. TikTok fame and TikTok glamour, a sexy young lover, attention and admiration. The sort of personal fulfillment that she'd always dreamed of but never thought she'd achieve. But now, 3 years on, noticing that her husband, Ali Raza, was growing suspicious of her, and knowing what his finding out about her affair could lead to, namely divorce, shaming and exile from her wider family, and possibly even a religion-backed execution, who knows? Not to mention, of course, the potential destruction of her TikTok career, she wants out. But when, one day in January 2022, she WhatsApps her daughter, who has known all along about her mother's tarty affair, but who has kept it secret, and does so in connection to Saqib, she's not actually looking for comfort over the breakup that she's since enacted. She's looking, rather, for a way out of the blackmail that her ex-lover is enacting on her and asking her daughter for help. Blackmail is a criminal offence and, as a conduct crime, meaning that even an unsuccessful attempt at it renders a person criminally liable, Saqib's actions, which were his threat to show his ex-lover's husband and son the explicit photos and videos of his ex-lover that he had on his phone, unless his ex-lover repaid him the £3,000 that he had spent on her during their 3-year affair, 20 quid a week then, you know, needn't actually have worked for him to have potentially ended up behind bars. We know, though, why Ansreen didn't go to the police. Did Ansreen and her daughter respond to Saqib's threats in the way that they did, which I'm about to show, because they were drunk on their TikTok fame? The judge of their murder trial, because that was how the mother and daughter answered Saqib's threat, who calls Mahek self-obsessed and described her TikTok success as tawdry, definitely seemed to think so. Ansreen's seeking of her daughter's help, meanwhile, in stopping her ex-lover's threats, was an act of role reversal. The mother, vulnerable and needy, seeking protection from her daughter, the tough, courageous one who solves problems. Ansreen's daughter was an adult, yes, but even so, does Ansreen's reliance on her daughter indicate that she saw herself not as a 45-year-old woman, as she was at this point, but rather as a teenager, or a woman in her early 20s, say, the same age as her ex-lover? If so, was this why she was comfortable, it would seem, with her blatant lack of responsibility? Who knows, eh? It's the early hours of February the 11th, 2022. Saqib has just reached the Tesco car park in Leicester in the car of his 21-year-old cousin, Mohammed Hashim Ijazuddin, who is doing the driving, having been told by Saqib that they're just going to pick something up. And by the way, Saqib, he loves cars, but he can't drive. Before Saqib himself gets out of the car in order to go and meet his ex-lover to receive the £3,000 that she's promised him and to allow her to wipe all her nudes from his phone as he promised her, he spots 2 cars with people inside all wearing balaclavas. Now, it's after 1 o'clock in the morning and the only person who was meant to be at this car park, apart from Saqib and his cousin, was Saqib's ex-lover Ansreen Bukhari, along with her daughter possibly. But not a gang of all of 8 people shared between 2 vehicles, all wearing balaclavas. And now, oh shit! Saqib is on the phone to the police, sounding obviously distressed and scared, as he tells them that, quote, "I need help now. I'm being followed by 2 vehicles. They're trying to block me in. They've got balaclavas on. They're trying to ram me off the road. They're trying to kill me. I'm gonna die. I just came to Leicester to see one of my friends who goes to university here. Oh, they're hitting to the back of the car very fast. Please, I'm begging you. I'm going to die. No!" Unquote. Having taken flight only moments after catching sight of the 2 cars with the 8 balaclava-wearing individuals inside them, you see, Saqib and his cousin had found themselves being relentlessly chased up the A46 by those 2 cars with those said 8 people inside them. And now they're dead. They just hit a tree which made the car split in 2 and catch fire, killing the 2 young men instantly. The Seat Leon that was chasing them, whose act of running them off the road is what made them crash into the tree, and whose driver has just got back inside after quickly checking the outside of the car, is now driving away again at speed as if nothing had happened. So is the Audi TT, the other car, which turned out to be a hire car. "Watch what I do to you," is what Mahek has said to Saqib in the call that she made to him during her 10-minute pursuit of him in the car. After her mother unburdened to her the month before, she had replied to her mother, quote, "I'll soon get him jumped by guys and he won't know what day it is. I'll make sure he gets jumped. He won't know who did it and how," unquote. These clearly weren't idle threats. Now, given the time and place of the meeting, a deserted car park in the middle of the night, and keeping in mind that the time and place were the suggestion of his ex-lover and her daughter, how could Saqib have failed to suspect any potential risks to the meeting? Was his desire for that £3 so strong that it either blinded him to the potential dangers or made him decide that the risk was worth taking? Not that Saqib deserved what happened to him, his cousin, a completely innocent victim, deserving what happened to him even less. Blackmail is a crime, but you don't get the death penalty for it. Another thing is that, as Ansreen and her daughter had to have known, Saqib could have saved copies of the naughty photos and videos into other digital forms, like his Instagram account, say, which is actually what he did. I'll tell you that for free. Getting hold of Saqib's phone and deleting all the pictures and videos of Ansreen that were on it wouldn't necessarily have got Ansreen off the blackmail hook then. Then again, where Saqib is concerned, Ansreen and her daughter were prepared, to quote Mahek, to silence him forever, unquote. And they did. With his 36 years and 45 days for murder, Rais Jamal, 22 or 23, got the longest sentence of all involved. 5 of those years, though, are actually for an unrelated offence. Rekan Karwan, 29, got 26 years and 10 months for murder. Saraf Gula Mustafa, 23, Amir Jamal, 28, and Natasha Akhtar, 23, got 14 years and 9 months, 14 years and 8 months, and 11 years and 8 months, respectively, for manslaughter. For these three, those sentences only stood for just over 2 years, since on the 24th of October 2025, Gula Mustafa's time was cut to 12 years and 8 months, 2 years and a month less than his original sentence. Jamal's was reduced to 12 years and 8 months as well, 2 years less than before, and Akhtar's was cut to 9 years and 8 months, again 2 years less than before. In explaining the court's decision to reduce these sentences, Lord Justice Warby remarked, quote, "It seems to us indisputable that the car chase carried a high risk of death or really serious harm, and that this should have been obvious to all those in each car. The minor role played by each of them should have had a powerful downward impact on the sentences. In our view, the judge erred in striking the overall balance of aggravation and mitigation. The sentences for all these appellants were manifestly excessive. They could and should have been substantially lower," unquote. Where Mahek Bukhari is concerned, the court deemed that her original sentence didn't take into account the perpetrator's youth and lack of maturity. Her own sentence then has been reduced by roughly 5 years, 26 years and 285 days being her new sentence. The original sentence imposed on Rais Jamal, Rekan Karwan and Ansreen Bukhari are unchanged. From TikTok fame to prison shame for murder. It all sounds like something out of the next Hollywood screenplay, and it's all just one big mess. If this video has gripped you, I recommend you to watch this one next. I'll meet you there.